All right, welcome everybody. How we doing? This is Mr. Huff. We're going to talk about Unit 3, Lesson 4, the Senate. So let's get started. Almost a third of the current senators were once members of the House of Representatives. Becoming a senator is an aspiration of many in the House because of its prestige and its power. And it's one of the many reasons that the Senate is referred to as the upper chamber. And that's kind of the theme of what we're going to look at in this lesson is kind of the difference between the House and the Senate. The Senate is considered to be superior to the House. It's called the upper chamber. We're going to look at why that is. So as we go through this, think about why is it, or how are they different? How is the House and the Senate different? And then why is the Senate a little more prestigious? Okay. Whereas the House has 435 members, the Senate only has 100, two from each state, as outlined by the Constitution. Remember, we talked about that with the compromise between the Virginia plan and the New Jersey plan. Well, the compromise was that the Senate would have equal numbers per state, whereas the House would be elected by population. Okay, so the Senate has two from every state. The framers believe that the smaller size of the Senate and statewide elected versus district elected officials who serve longer terms would be more responsible and sophisticated than the House of Representatives. In the Senate, each member of the Senate serves a term of 6 years. So once you're elected to the Senate, you have that job for 6 years. Remember, in the House of Representatives, if you're elected to the House, you only have that job for 2 years. All right. Whereas representatives are beholden to the pressures of their districts, senators would theoretically be more nationally minded and look toward the greater good, right? There's more security in being in the Senate. You're going to hold on to that job for 6 years, whereas in the House, every 2 years you're up for reelection. Woodrow Wilson once described this sentiment in this way. It is indispensable that besides the House of Representatives, which runs on all fours with popular sentiment, we should have a body like the Senate, which may refuse to run with it at all. When it seems to be wrong, a body which has time and security enough to keep its head, if only now and then, but for a little while, till the other people have had time to think. So the idea is that the Senate is supposed to be, the reasonable one, the one that moves a little more slowly, the one that is a little more, cognizant of the big picture. But the House is not that. Okay. So again, the big idea here is we want to look at the difference between the House and the Senate. Okay. So how does the Senate work? As a separate House of Congress, this body follows different rules and guidelines, from the number of senators to the qualifications to debate rules. The Senate operates kind of on its own. For example, the leadership comes from the vice presidency. So the president of the Senate, as we call the leader of the Senate, is the vice president of the United States. But in the House, remember, the leader of the House is called the Speaker of the House. And the Speaker of the House is just elected by the other members of the House of Representatives, whereas the leader of the Senate is elected nationally, is the vice president of the United States. Okay. Senators have staggered terms. Remember, everyone serves a 6-year term, but they don't all expire at the same time. Every 2 years, 1/3 of the Senate is up for reelection. All right. And so think about why that might be important. You're never going to have a situation where the entire Senate gets voted out and new senators come in. It's all done on a staggered system. In the House of Representatives, remember, every 2 years, the entire House is up for reelection. Every 2 years, all 435 members of the House have to run for and win reelection. So you could have massive changes in the House every 2 years, but in the Senate, it kind of stays the same. It's a much more stable body in that regard. Let's look at the qualifications for the Senate. Okay, you have to be 30 years old. You have to be a citizen of the state where you're elected, and you have to have been a U.S. citizen for the last 9 years. And like the House, the Senate can scrutinize the qualifications of its members. So the Senate does have the ability to vote out a member of the Senate, but that happens very, very rarely. It's only happened 3 times ever, and the most recent time was in 1867. So it's something that doesn't happen that often, but it is possible. All right. Adding to the idea of the upper chamber, another reason we call it the upper chamber, why it's a little more prestigious, a little more nationally minded, is that originally the Constitution had it designed so that the Senate would not be an elected position, so that people wouldn't be elected to Senate, but instead they'd be appointed by their state governments. And that went on until 1913. And this is really important. In 1913, that changed. The Constitution was amended. We talked about that amendment process in the last unit, but the Constitution was amended, and the 17th Amendment made it so that every member of the Senate had to be elected by the people of that state, not by the government of that state, which kind of is a little bit of a difference, but it made a huge difference. Okay, senators were now elected by their states and not just the state legislative body, so they were responsive to the individuals in the state, to the voters of the state. Furthermore, only one senator can be elected from each state in any election year unless the other seat is empty. Other seat might be empty if someone dies in the middle of their term or resigns in the middle of their term, which happens every now and again. Imagine what the Senate must have been like before the 17th Amendment. Do you think it was more or less diverse? Okay, so it's an interesting thing to think about. Okay, so we're not going to go through this, but this is a little exercise to get you to think about how the Senate is comprised. Okay, so I'll let you handle that on your own here. Okay, and then this one right here, also, you can watch the video on your own, but after you watch the video, these are the questions you should be able to answer. And it's always good to look at the questions before you watch the video so you have an idea of what you're looking for. Okay, so in what ways is leadership stronger in the House? Okay, how do the shorter terms of the House affect representatives' voting behavior on bills? In which ways are senators held to a higher standard than members of the House? And what have the two bodies in Congress been, or why have the two bodies in Congress been called the upper and the lower chamber? Again, that's kind of the theme we're looking at in this lesson is what's the difference between the House and the Senate? Why are they set up that way? And why does that make the Senate the upper chamber and the House the lower chamber? Okay, so I'll let you watch that video and go through and answer those. Okay. And then you're going to end here with the quick check. I'm not going to go through and answer this for you. I think you can do that, but I do think it's worthwhile, just kind of looking at to get an idea of what are the important points of this unit. Well, which of the following are the formal qualifications for serving in the Senate? We talked about this. What do you have to do in order to qualify for the Senate? How do the term limits for senators and representatives affect their voting powers? Remember, the term limits are a little bit different for senators and representatives. Senators serve 6 years, representatives serve 2 years. Okay. And then how did the 17th Amendment to the Constitution affect the process of senatorial elections? We talked about the 17th Amendment just a little while ago. So think about why that was really, really important and a big change for the Senate. All right. So that's it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. Hope it was helpful. And we will see you next time. Bye.